Greetings, Loyalists, traders, Xenos, Legions, and other assorted entities of Warhammer 40k. This is Arndelft. So, recently I've been thinking about just how fanatical and pious the citizens and armies of the Imperium are. And yet, despite this, whenever they are exposed to chaos, there isn't that many of them that resist it. So after thinking about this for a bit, I decided to do a bit of math on it, compare the Imperium of man and chaos, and the answer ended up being pretty simple. Imperium versus Chaos, light versus dark, good versus evil, etc. And like most stories, the light isn't completely light, and the dark side, well, let's face it, the dark side of things in Warhammer 40k is completely fragging dark. That's kind of why they call it the Grim Dark Universe. Well, in the Imperium, all kinds of atrocities are committed on a pretty regular basis. From the 1,000 psychers sacrificed for the Emperor every fragging day to the occasional exterminatus, down to the everyday servitors, which are basically people made into cyborgs that no longer have a will of their own for the most part. Their minds are still intact, and they are aware of what is going on around them. That would really suck. And in Chaos, well, I don't really need to cover the casual atrocities committed by Chaos. They're pretty well known, and it is pretty much what they do. Kill, 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 maiming, burning, all that fun stuff. So we've got the lukewarm light versus the extremely fragging dark. Grim dark, anyone? Now, in a closer look at both Imperial and Chaos forces, they all serve whomever they've chosen to serve, or pretty much born into serving, pretty fanatically, and for the most part are willing to sacrifice themselves at a moment's notice for whoever they are serving. Now, it is pretty much unheard of for any, and I do mean any, forces of Chaos to ever go back to the lukewarm light side of the Imperium. Not that they'd be embraced by them anyways. Yeah, firing squad, anyone? Or worse. But it's pretty common for forces of the Imperium to disavow the Emperor and forsake the Imperium. Heretics! And join Chaos, despite just how pious they previously were. I mean, seriously, those who follow the Emperor are in no way any less fanatical than those who serve Chaos. So why on Terra is it they seem to fall to Chaos so easily? Well, rooting to Chaos itself, those who fall to it are actually, in fact, only falling to the worst sides of themselves. That's all Chaos does. Bring out the very worst in you. And if you can't face that, if you can't withstand the very worst side of yourself, then you fall to Chaos. Now, within the Imperium, despite all their fanatical zeal and devotion to the Emperor, they really don't teach a very high moral code. And in fact, the Imperium pretty much rules through fear, exemplified with groups like the Commissariat and the Inquisition. Casual brutality and outright murder are common, and even amongst the high elites, this is like pretty doggone typical. In other words, the Imperium really isn't that much better than Chaos. They just pretend to be the good guys when they really aren't. Now, it is with little surprise that when the average citizen is exposed to Chaos, there isn't a very high chance at all that they won't fall to it. So much so that when Gaunt's ghost returned in his last command, after the events in Trader's General, extreme suspicion was cast on them, as they had just returned from what was technically supposed to be a suicide mission on Garyon, a Chaos-held world. They hadn't been expected to return, and most definitely hadn't been expected to return still loyal to the Imperium and Emperor. They were nearly executed, treated pretty much like cattle, and after escaping their confinement, Gaunt attempted to talk to Lord General Van Voigts, only to be tricked by his former friend / commander and put on trial. There he and the Ghost were facing the distinct possibility of execution again. The Inquisition even became involved, infuriated by the notion that Gaunt's Ghost had simply resisted Chaos, and it was at this point that a member of Gaunt's group sold an idea to the Inquisition that it had simply been some drug or compound on the planet that had proofed them against Chaos, and that if the Inquisition were to go there, they themselves be able to find it and use it. Such as it was, this quite possibly saved Gaunt and his ghost, and it sparked the liberation of Garyon. That was, well, what was left of it. Because, truth be told, Garyon was a bit of a side world, maybe an agri world, wasn't that important strategically, location-wise, or in what it produced. So they never would have gone there to liberate it, so it would have continued to suffer under Chaos until they happened to get around to it. But Instead of saving the world, the Inquisition ended up dissecting it, hunting down those who had remained loyal to the Emperor and the Imperium and resisted chaos to study them rather than save them. It takes amazing individuals to be exposed to the full taint of chaos, to face the worst of themselves, and triumph despite it. These individuals in all of Warhammer 40k are extremely rare, let alone the Imperium. So it is with little surprise now I realize why so many of the Imperium fall to chaos when they are exposed to it, despite their fanaticism to Emperor and Imperium. Now, if anyone knows of exemplary characters like Gaunt and his ghosts that have, or you believe would, resist the taint of chaos, please share in the comment section below, along with any thoughts you have on this video. And in any case, if y'all really like this video, please give it a huge thumbs up. It actually really does help. And if you dislike this video, well, hopefully you don't end up with the 8-pointed star in your forehead. And in any case, don't y'all get into too much trouble, or do? It's always up to you. Toodles!